Hey guys, hope you're having a good day. This, of course, your Thursday video report, and I've got free selections coming up on Nebraska, Penn State, Memphis, Rutgers. Last night hit 2 out of 3 college basketball freebies, couple of double-digit winners, easy, with UCLA over Cal, and Xavier getting the job done as well against DePaul. The lone loser was St. Joe's against Rhode Island, and did I not warn you about that particular contest? I was particularly worried because after Rhode Island got blown out at home by Duquesne for their 5th straight loss over the weekend, their head coach came out and questioned his team's effort in the contest. I'll tell you what, it's almost bettable. It's almost bankable that when a coach questions his team's effort, it's like that team gets a one-game bounce. Oh, they still suck. There's a reason he was questioning their effort in the first place. But it just seems teams in that situation, especially in college football and college basketball, they always seem to have that one-game bounce where the next game you can almost take them to the bank. Not a betting philosophy that I would adhere to. It's not like my new manager theory in baseball, which I'm telling you is like money in the bank. Absolutely always ride a team after they make a managerial change because you're always going to get a bounce in the first 3 or 4 games and you can count on a win or two. That one, money in the bank for 25 years, I'm telling you. But there is something about questioning a team's effort. Anyway, those free selections coming up in just a moment. Listen, before I go any further, as I'm handicapping all the games today, my best bet happens to end up being the game, which is the marquee attraction tonight, your Oklahoma City game against Miami and OKC. So as I'm reading, I come across yet another story about LeBron James. Now, if you're looking for somebody to gush about LeBron James, you are watching the wrong video report because, granted, I think he's a great player, but he's just not my cup of tea. He turned me off forever with that whole decision thing a couple of years ago. Having Jim Gray as part of that decision process probably turned me off twice as much. But it just seems that you couldn't have 2 more conceited egomaniacs in one single television show. But anyway, that did it for me with LeBron, okay? And then a couple of days ago, I think within the last 24 hours, there was that little blip, and I'm paraphrasing about he didn't see why there was any reason, why he wouldn't be re-upping again with the Heat. Oh, yeah, let's just bring that up and put that out there in the forefront. And, of course, then a week and a half ago, it was, the Mount Rushmore of the NBA. Hey, listen. It's too soon. If you put Michael Jordan up there, great, absolutely deserves it. You want to put Bird up there? You want to put Magic up there? Well, what do you want to do with every other single player that started in the NBA before 1975? And that, of course, is the age-old problem about sports. But it's also one of the greatest things about sports because it is so difficult to compare errors. And that's what makes for lively debate. Listen, I never saw Oscar Robertson in his prime, although ironically, the very first basketball game I ever went to as a little kid, and I was probably more concerned with whether or not my dad was buying popcorn and cotton candy, was Philadelphia at home against the Cincinnati Royals. And the Big O was just a shell of his former self. And to be honest with you, at that age, I wouldn't have known if he was a good player or not. But I happened to see him live. But, you go back to Wilt Chamberlain in his prime. I don't care that the NBA has better athletes now and more depth and more travel concerns, blah, 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 blah. What would have dominated now, too? But other people say, oh, but Bill Russell won all those titles. Yeah, I don't know. You tell me. Bill Russell wasn't much of an offensive threat back then by design. He was a defensive stopper despite not being the most physically imposing guy. What would he do today in current NBA terms? Still wouldn't be an offensive threat. Would he have been able to change his game against a more athletic athlete? That's the great debate about sports. But I digress. What I really want to talk about was the latest thing about LeBron James. Listen, LeBron James, was basically raised by his mother, okay? She had him when she was 16 years old. The father was pretty much never really in his life. So he posts an open letter to his father on Instagram yesterday. And I got to read this to you because, listen, obviously this is a heartfelt letter. And I do not bash him in any way, shape, or form for expressing his opinions and his beliefs. And as I said, this is really something. And probably a lot of you watching this out here have grown up in similar situations with an absentee father or mother. And he goes, and I'm going to just read this word for word for you because then I got to read something else for you, which I really thought was kind of funny. So this is what LeBron writes. Like, wow, Dad, you know what? I don't know you. I have no idea who you are. But because of you, is part of the reason who I am today. The fuel that I use, you not being there, it's part of the reason I grew up to become who I am. It's part of the reason why I want to be hands-on with my endeavors. So me, in a position, allowing people around me to grow, that maybe wouldn't have happened if I had 2 parents, 2 sisters, a dog, a picket fence. You know? Part of it very touching. Part of it very powerful. Part of it, please, get me out the 2 violins and put them on my shoulder. Oh, my God. But this is the best part. So I'm at the Oklahoma City news site, newsok.com, and they have comment sections underneath. And this one guy writes this comment, which really kind of sums it up how I feel. He says, quote, "Dear Dad, I wouldn't have grown up to be the narcissistic, self-absorbed, arrogant schmuck I am today if you had been in my life. So thanks for not being in my life." Now, come on, guys. You got to think that's funny. I mean, again, not bashing him for his sentiments, not bashing him for his performance. And I don't know him, obviously, but I don't know. I mean, how many of you out there have taken to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter to let the world know how you feel about a particular family situation? But LeBron felt it was his. He had to do it. He had to let the minions out there, the fans among us, let him know that he overcame that adversity. Oh, please. Okay, now that I've got that off my chest. See, you guys should all do video reports. It is very therapeutic. It really is. Let's move on. Listen, first free selections tonight. I'm going to go with Memphis minus the 8 points at Rutgers. This game has actually dropped from 9 to 8 here from overnight. Now, of course, Memphis is coming off a 86-81 loss at Connecticut on Saturday. What a strange game that was. You talk about home cooking. Connecticut shot 36 free throws. Memphis, 8. 36 to 8? Seriously? And you want to tell me there's not a home court advantage? But hey, this was their second straight road loss because remember, they also got hammered at SMU back on February 1st. Now, first time these two met. Rutgers traveled to Memphis. It was back on February 14th. They were getting 14.5 points. They only lost 101-69. I mean, they were only down 56-21 in the first half. In that contest, Memphis forced 17 turnovers. They shot 59%. They had 12 of 19 threes. They basically did whatever damn well they wanted to do. They also out-rebounded the Knights, 40-29. And Memphis is not a great rebounding team, guys. Meanwhile, now the Knights are coming off a 102-54 loss to Louisville on Sunday. Now, in that game, the Cardinals pressured them as well into 18 turnovers. Remember what I just said. Memphis forced, 17 turnovers in their blowout win against them. Louisville just blew them out and forced 18 turnovers. Can you say Rutgers guards can't handle the ball quickly? They lost their prior home game 77-65 on Friday night in a makeup game against SMU. They've lost 9 of their last 11. Memphis is shooting the hell out of the ball here. They're hitting about 51% in their last 9 games. Listen, Memphis is not as good of its record. Memphis is not going to go anywhere in the big dance. Memphis is just one of those teams year after year, it seems here lately, that accumulates 24 wins and it gets knocked out in the first round, But I like Memphis tonight minus the points. Laying single digits in this one, coming off a loss, I'll take the Tigers. Has anybody noticed Nebraska is playing damn good ball here of late? They have been on a nice little run, winning 5 of their last 6, just upset Michigan State in their most recent game, 60-51 as a 14-point road dog on Sunday. Their lone loss in that 5-1 stretch was at Michigan, a team that also hammered them at home in Lincoln earlier this year. But even there, I could almost overlook it because they were coming off a big upset against Ohio State just 3 days earlier. So I think it was a trap game for them. Now, they're 4-1 at home in conference play. Lone loss, as I noted, coming against Michigan. They've held 5 of their last 6 opponents to under 40% shooting, and that's really been the turnaround here for the Cornhuskers after a slow start in Big Ten play. It's been their emphasis on defense. I mean, they held Michigan State to a season low in points with just 51, held them to a season low in terms of their field goal percentage shooting, hitting just 34% of the shots. Penn State lives and dies with their talented backcourt of Frazier and Newbill. but Nebraska has a talented backcourt as well. These are two teams of both feature three-guard lineups. Penn State has been such a disappointment this season, and it's a revenge game because Nebraska lost at Penn State 58-54 in the first meeting as a 5-point road dog January 23rd. I'm going to go with the Cornhuskers here. But listen, I'm just going to be honest with you. Of the two free selections, I like Memphis more. I would have liked Nebraska more at 3. Now that it moved from 4 up to 5, I'm a little bit more concerned. But I still think it's a good play. Hey, there you go. Take them as a teaser. Well, how about this? Take Nebraska down to 1. Take Memphis down to 4. And you got a winning 2-team teaser. I probably should have bet that teaser. That's a damn good teaser. Just something I wanted to pass on to you. Anyway, guys, best of luck to you. Send those Valentines to LeBron James because obviously he needs to be loved. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow.